Chairman. The Policy Committee canceled the meeting of February 27th, as I informed you earlier, and we met on Friday the 13th of March, Friday the 13th being a good day.
It was a good day.
And we had a meeting, we had all our quorum, a full discussion and update and consideration and review of the bylaws for 2009. And I believe that each and every one of you has received a copy of the bylaws.
I didn't receive.
Everybody has
I
it?
didn't get a copy.
I emailed them out to everybody.
Yeah.
It said from Gmail's bylaws.
Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't get that. I guess I was not included in that email.
So I would like to ask for a motion to approve these. They've certainly been on the table long enough. All of the review that we gave, additions, deletions, we followed the town attorney and the items that he had so noted, and I'd like a motion to approve those. I'd like to submit that to you, Madam Chairman, for approval.
All right.
And if it is approved, pending final review by town council.
All right. So, and that takes us right into the first item of unfinished business. So back to the motion at hand. We have a motion on the floor to accept the changes as presented by the policy committee, noting that town attorney had reviewed them and made some suggestions, and there would be final review of town attorney before they were adopted fully. Is there a second?
Do we know what the changes are?
We discussed it at the last board meeting. They were the changes that were addressed.
Some of these changes are new that have not been
Let's have a
discussed.
second to the motion before we have discussion.
Why don't we have a discussion? We have a discussion.
Yeah, we're gonna, there's a second. Can we have discussion? Do we know what the changes are?
Usually they're italicized or they're...
Right.
The font
Yeah,
is
that's why I'm
different, so we
asking.
have a point of comparison. I mean, right off the bat, I take exception to that piece in Article 5. But it would have been helpful had, when this was written up, if we could have had some kind of distinction in the change. Specifically, I take exception to the fact that the library board director administrator shall be under the supervision of the chairman of the library board of directors as specified.
Article 5.
It's in the second...
Article 5, paragraph A, the last sentence.
I see that as a lapse of the responsibility of the 11 board members to allow one board member to be responsible for the director, the library director. We're a board of 12. I think we should all be included in that process.
Okay. It is? Let's see. I got the personnel policy. Under, you know where it is, under the personnel policy?
I can tell you that thinking of the committee that day was that it's difficult for the library director to have 12 bosses, that it's a difficult thing.
Well, I think, no, I don't, I think we present a unified front. I think things need to be discussed. I'd be concerned about any kind of legal ramification. I'd be ceding my rights as a board member of a board of director to allow one person to speak for me. I would be concerned about that.
And this has been an issue before. This has come up before when we were, revising this.
Right.
Well, it does say it's specified in the approved personnel policy.
And that's what we're trying to find, where it says that.
Okay, so what's the next?
I know that. And then just on that, also in C, I thought the library board of directors oversees the library. We oversee Lynn, but we don't really have anything to do with the staff.
Yeah,
The library
that's it.
director and administrator and the staff shall be subject to a library board of directors approved review process. I think that's in conflict with what.
No, that says that the library board of directors would approves the review process and includes clearly defined job descriptions and annual goals and objectives.
The library.
No.
And staff. We review the library director, but we don't review the staff, the library staff.
Yeah, it doesn't say review them, it says the review process. I mean, I can see where maybe we should take the staff out.
Yeah, I think anything that says staff, I mean, the staff doesn't come under our jurisdiction per se.
No, the staff does not come under our jurisdiction.
And so it would also be in B as well, because B also refers to staff.
And approved by the local board of directors in full compliance with the town and state personnel policies. I don't think I've ever seen that before in here, have I?
We do fall under the town code.
But you have to, I mean, you have to follow, it's kind of redundant, really. You have to follow town and state laws.
But that's different than personnel policies. I mean, speaking on, I take my own personal self out of this, but a library director would work under personnel policies established by the library board. How can that person also work under personnel policies established by the town and the state? There could be conflict.
It doesn't say established, it says and in full compliance.
Full compliance.
It says that the policies.
But they're policies, it's a little bit different
It says that the policies
than-
would be in compliance with town and state, so that puts the onus on the board to write policies that are in compliance with town and state. And maybe personnel
yes.
policies are not is not the right word, but town and state.
Well, I can understand town and state statutes or laws, however, but personnel policies connotes a different
I mean,
meaning.
Lynn, if anything happened and you were not satisfied...
I understand.
No, if you're not satisfied, say, with a ruling by the library board, just for argument's sake, regarding your employment, you have the right to appeal to the Board of Selectmen.
Yes, I know. I know that.
Yeah.
But it's more...
And it does fall
I
under-
understand fully
yeah.
being in compliance with
Yeah.
the town charter, the town code, the state laws, the labor laws, et cetera, et cetera. But that's different than personnel policies. It sounds like the director has to abide by 3 sets of personnel policies: the town, the state, and the libraries.
Well, I know we can't violate personnel policy if it's against town code.
No, but that's not what this says.
It's the
This says
wording.
that
It's
It's the wording you
It's the
don't...
language.
It's
the
based
language.
on policies which are approved by the library board of directors, and the policies are in full compliance with state. I mean, it's redundant that you say that we're going to follow the law, but that's really what that
That's what you're
says.
saying.
Yeah, that's what we were saying.
Right. But I think it should say that then.
It's a means of protecting employees, including yourself.
I can't locate where it does state that the library director shall be under the supervision of the chairman of the board of directors. I'm just trying to find it in here.
See, I have the old ones.
Article
old,
5A.
old.
Yes.
It is there.
Article 5A, in the new one.
The new one.
No, not in the policy. Oh, you're looking in the policy?
Yeah. Because
No,
it
I don't know.
refers to the personnel policy, and I can't find it in the personnel policy, that's all.
Okay.
But if we have the 2002 personnel policy,
And you've got the
that may have.
That's the one.
No, I don't think
This
so.
is
He's got the latest.
yeah, I've got the latest one.
2002 one that we had.
But that part didn't change anyway.
No.
That's been consistent.
I've got April 2008 here.
I would like to see some.
Okay, go right ahead.
I like what Leslie said, because I agree that she would not have 12 bosses. I mean, we are a body, we are a board, and we discuss things and come to an agreement on something. So there's one decision made, and it either passes or fails, you know.
You know, and that...
Well, one decision made that
in-
passes, rather.
And in theory, that's correct, but she's come to me several times saying that one director has asked her to do this, and another's asked her to do this, and I've asked her to do something else. And
Well, we have to,
Well, any decision that you would make regarding Lynn would be brought to the library board anyway, correct? I mean, major, right, whatever. And you meet with Lynn almost, what, every other day?
Well, not quite that frequently. We email a lot.
we email.
Oh, emails, all right. That's it, a way
I
of
think I have
meetings.
7 emails in my box from her at the moment.
So what are we doing with it?
Well, do we have to input from some other folks?
If it says it in the personnel policy and that was approved, then I leave it. If it doesn't, then I take it out.
You know, we really, the bylaws, you know, are the first document, and then the policies should go down from there. So I can't find it in there, but it shouldn't be the other way around. You know what I mean?
Well, then I agree with the concept of the body of people making the decision.
Dan, what do you think?
If we're stating something somewhere it's not, we can't make that statement. I know what you're saying about the order, but everything else has to be brought to the board, correct?
What do you mean, everything?
Everything else that is decided on by the board has to be brought to the board after it goes through the subcommittees, and I don't know why we would change that. I just don't understand why that would be different.
It's almost like we need to have the old one in front of us, and then the changes italicized, so we can go back and see, and then ask why the change was made from...
But we made motions to accept all those changes at last month's
In
meeting.
December.
Yes.
A lot of this stuff was not in those changes from December.
There are changes in here which were recommended by the attorney, like the first paragraph, where we lay out the purpose of the board.
Right.
I mean, that wasn't in the original document, nor did we discuss that in December, but it was his recommendation that, and all bylaws are meant to have the purpose of the,
This would be your notice.
of the entity in the opening paragraph.
I don't
Do you
think I
want to
can...
submit this to town council before we vote on it? Have him look at the review?
He wanted us to vote on it and approve it before. I sent it to him after we met, and he said we should approve it before he looks at it.
But there's changes in here that were not discussed in the December, so you can submit this to this board at this month for review, but according to Article 6A, you need to have, it can't be approved until next month. You have to submit it 1 month and approve it the following month.
You're correct, Lynn.
If I could make a comment, I don't know, because you said that you guys have all talked about these in December. I don't think I could even qualifiably really have an opinion on this.
Well, you
Right,
have a month.
Yeah, and the point is that the review of the bylaws is meant to take place at this time of the year,
Okay.
and it didn't happen last year until that committee didn't meet until, I think the first time they met was May. So,
I'll remove my motion. I'll make a new motion.
okay.
The bylaws have been sent, you've all been notified, you've received them, and you have a month to review them, and we'll discuss them at next month's meeting, and that's my motion.
I second that.
Yeah,
Any discussion?
makes sense. Yeah, absolutely.
All in favor?
Aye.
Would you please send me a copy, electronic copy of the bylaws, this proposed change?
You didn't get
I did not second the motion.
when they were mailed to me.
I didn't get them.
No,
They were mailed to me from your office.
no, they weren't.
No, they weren't.
No, I apologize.
I didn't get a notice of the meeting, and I didn't get a copy of the bylaws.
Okay.
Well, it was stamped at Bethel Public Library, that's why I assumed they came from you.
No, they didn't. Well, no, they didn't. I didn't even know there was a meeting. I didn't get notice of the meeting, and I didn't get a copy of the bylaws, proposed revisions.
Okay. So the Steve Lippy concert, the Friends are going to take that over soup to nuts. So, announcements. As you probably all know, you should have gotten this in your mailbox.
I didn't.
You didn't get it?
Nope.
Well, that's interesting.
I did.
I did.
I did.
We sent out 5,300 of them, and I have another about 275 that's the Chamber of Commerce list, which will go out tomorrow. I didn't know how to do the bulk mailing thing, so when Lynn was on vacation, I couldn't figure that out by myself. So a big thanks to Bob and to Lynn. We worked as a great team to put this together. I'm really proud of this piece. I've gotten a lot of good feedback about it, and I'm also really proud of how well we worked together to put it together. I'm not sure the lady from the News Times.
Well,
She
it
had
takes
like
to get it
3
done
really
right.
nitpicky people to deal with. Like, no, you have to change this. This has to be like this. But it came out really great, so I'm really happy about that. So thanks to Tom and Elisa and Lorraine for marching in the parade yesterday. We had a good time. We got lots of cheers.
Madam Chairman.
Yes, Jerry was there cheering us on.
Did you get the banner, the green banner?
I did get it. It's in my car, and I was going to bring it in to you, and then I figured you're not going back into the library, so I'll just drop it off tomorrow. But yeah, Kara Signs took off the other numbers and put 9s on for us, free of charge. So
Looks good.
it looks good, yeah. They did something to that one crack, like it's not open anymore. So I don't know
They must
what
have
they
fixed it,
must
yeah.
have some kind of, vinyl patch kit. So it looks good, and we can put it up in front of the building. So that's
Madam
good.
Chairman, may I just say that everyone looked terrific marching yesterday. It was first class. You all looked great. And Mr. Gator made us all very, very proud leading the American Legion in his Marine Blues, his dress uniform. He really looked sharp. So,
Take a picture of this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next time is today?
Yeah.
Okay. The town budget passed, woo-hoo. So we don't have to worry about that. That's,
People voted, right?
what?
So sad how
People
few
had to realize.
It's really amazing how few voted, because usually we get a little bit better turnout.
I don't think it was very well advertised, publicized.
Yeah.
Well, there was a reason why only 3,000 people voted. You want to know, or?
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Sure.
There was absolutely no reason, no real reason for them to vote or not vote. Budget was at 0. That's
Was no
typically what taxpayers
No politics.
drive, hope for, in the scheme of things. So there was no reason to really.
It wasn't a hotly contested.
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
there was nothing to contest.
All right.
I mean,
It's true. Everybody was for it, so anyway, that was good. So, and then just one last announcement. I emailed out to you all, excluding Jerry, a sample of the business card, which thanks to Dan for arranging with Bethel Printing to get free business cards for all of us. So I'm just going to pass this around. Look over your numbers and your email and your name and make sure everything is spelled correctly, and then just initial it. And I will, these will get started tomorrow. And he said they'll take about 10 days. When they're done, I'll send out an email, and you can pick them up at the library.
these aren't proofs, are they?
Yes, that is the proof.
Do you want initials on the proof?
No, it's not. No. I'm gonna send him an electronic proof. This
Oh,
is
all
a
right.
draft of the proof. So
All right.
yes, I do want initials on this.
Just thought I would ask.
Okay. You just have that email from
Yeah, I'll
Eileen.
just
We
hold
don't
it
need to
there.
read that
No.
into. Okay. All right.
It's part of the House Committee.
All right. I don't have any correspondence. If no one else has any.
I do have correspondence. At the last meeting, Bob Cernick was kind enough to recommend that those of us who did not agree with the passing of the bylaws write up a minority opinion letter, and that we did. This is from Leslie Mason, Lorraine Go, Terry Rotella, and myself. I'll just pass it around. Obviously, we're not going to discuss it, but just so you can read it and see some of the issues that we had with the revision.
Yeah, you should. So we're not going to discuss this.
Can't discuss it.
Unless you want to add some agenda.
Okay. Development Committee report.
Well, you obviously briefed everyone about the town mailer. I guess the total cost on it came in below $2,000, around $1,980.
Have you seen the invoice? I haven't received the invoice.
I'm sorry. I
We're
have-
looking at postage of $707, and I think the other part of it is approximately, essentially an email. It's gonna come in below $2,000. So we budgeted $2,600. So once again, we came in under budget, and we sent it out to 5,300 households. I guess the concern I have is, have we gotten any responses at all?
We didn't check the mail today. Leslie does that, and she had to work today.
I tried, yeah,
So-
I'm at work, and by the time I
Yeah.
get home.
Yeah,
I tried before I came to the meeting tonight, hoping that maybe the outside doors would be open to have access to the mailbox, but,
Oh, that comes into the post office,
Yeah,
right?
so,
so
but
that's a problem.
We did get
we'll
one
get it
inquiry about
tomorrow
a
and
pledge.
check it out. I have
It's only
to,
been a number of days.
yeah.
Right, since the,
Yeah, it was in home Wednesday, so.
Yeah.
I don't envision people rushing to write checks, but it would be nice to get some kind of a bump.
Yeah, no, I'll bet there are a few checks in the mailbox. A lot of people ask me about it at St. Mary's Carnival, at the parade, at the Cub Scout picnic. So I know people are looking at it and talking about it. One question that I got from a lot of people, which I think we should talk about, was could they pledge now and pay in installments? And we absolutely have the ability to do that. So if someone wants to pay $50 a month for the next 6 months, we can do that. We can charge their credit card. So I would encourage them to fill out this form and send it in or bring it to the library. And if they want to be billed later, there's a thing here that says, bill my credit card. They can also make a note that they want to pay in installments, and then Lynn and I discussed that today, we'll call them and work that out.
we've done that in the past, with the first
Yeah.
campaign, people did pay
Yeah.
in installments.
Okay. Assuming we have about $600 left in that account encumbered because we were under budget, I don't necessarily want to not use that money because I envision a follow-up mailer or a follow-up newspaper insert. And that would be essentially a reminder and update, a status to the community as to how much money we've gotten to date from our townwide activity. And that's an interesting ploy because what happens here is that, let's say, 3 weeks from now, we've gotten X amount of dollars, but it's clearly less than what we would like to have gotten. Then we can send out an insert either in the News Times, which would cost about $400, or we can possibly, talk about doing it in more direct fashion, or actually through the Penny Saver, which would cost about $600, where we would essentially just give the community an update in terms of how much we've collected since since the mailer went out, and basically a reminder, that we still need the money, and if you haven't, if the pledge form is sitting on your desk, you could send it in at this point, or whatever, but the message would be a reminder message.
Could we not have an article in the paper, like have a reporter cover it? and
We have,
feedback on that?
Yeah, we could do that too as well.
Leslie, what we have planned for that is a preview of Old Home Day and the gala, and some centennial things with a reminder at the end that we're still in the capital campaign.
Right. So we can do that, mix that message into it, obviously, or
Yeah.
blend that into it, because frankly, that has to be promoted. I don't know whether I think, is money encumbered in the Centennial account? I think there is.
We encumbered $5,000 for the entire centennial, so we have to,
We go look at that.
we're meeting on Thursday, so.
Okay, so beyond that, you have a Chamber of Commerce mailer that's going out. Beyond that, I couldn't really envision approaching the top 50 prospects who, could potentially give us a lot more money or make a legacy donation until this townwide mailer was sent out. And the primary reason for that is that if I were approached by someone from the library board and asked, to make a sizable donation, one of the first questions that I would ask is that what other efforts have you made in terms of collecting or asking for donations from the rest of the community? And I believe an anonymous donor at some point in time even asked that question during the course of obtaining that large and sizable anonymous donation. They had asked what efforts were made. So I know that previous efforts were made, but clearly, the more examples of town-wide efforts that we can make in advance of pursuing some of the larger prospects, to me, adds credibility to the sincerity of why we're actually approaching the larger donors or prospective donors. Because, frankly, we have fallen short in terms of getting enough monies from the town at large. So it all works together in terms of being able to make a sincere and credible pitch, presentation. So that's that. So along those lines, we are going to identify the top 50 or so, or top 100 targets, and make a direct appeal to them. And I think Shani is going to more or less draft the chairman's letter, which will be followed up by a phone call.
Business. I just wanted to, since we just sent out this mailer, I just wanted everyone to make sure that they were up to date on the money that we've raised to date and what's what, where, and how it affects our project. So the state construction grant we received in February of 2008, and that has a time frame of 18 months. So it's expiring this August, which is not far away. We have applied for an extension, a one-year extension. The letter's been sent. And in July, did you get a date? No, you didn't. You just told me that.
I sent her an email.
In July,
It's toward the end of the month.
Lynn and the first selectman and myself get to go and beg for that to be extended. We have our private foundation funds, and that's set. We have our other, the Rubino gift, the state bond we just discussed, and then we got in March the Commission on Tourism and Culture. So, and then we have cash pledges of $2 million. So we just need $1 million to go, and I just say that, I know, just $1 million.
I left my
but
checkbook in the truck. Sorry.
I'll recess the meeting, Dan. You can go get it. So Leslie had a grants meeting last week. So we're applying for some other grants. One of the grants we're applying for is a Kresge Foundation grant, and it's a challenge grant. And part of the challenge is that the board members contribute. It doesn't say how much they have to contribute, but that the board has contributed. So if you have plans to contribute, it would be great if you could do it now while we're in the process of applying for that grant. And then there's some other grants that we're applying for. And Bob reported on the other stuff. So I just want, I know that a lot of people are talking to me, and I'm sure that people are talking to the rest of you about this around town. So just be aware, just be aware where the funding is and what we have to go. And it would be really great if everybody could make an effort to talk to their friends and family and get pledges. They don't have to actually write a check, but if we can get pledges by August, then the building committee, because they're going to go ahead, they can scale down the project, and I really want to build a great library, so if we can really move forward with that stuff. Does anybody have any questions about where we are with the campaign?
So the $1 million that's left to go, does that include all the furnishings and?
Yeah. It's a complete library, ready to go, sit down and start using the computer.
You said something about they might scale down the project?
A situation that could arise if the money's not raised and we're tasked with bringing a project in on time, on budget, is we will go with the money that we have. And that would create a nightmare scenario whereby we'd scale down the project, scale down the plans so that we are actually in the number we need to be within now. Nobody wants that as an option.
Yeah, because I would think that would just cause such a nightmare of red tape and everything else with all the,
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
everything that
the
we've already
state grant,
applied
the
for,
state
because everything
grant
is
is
based on.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right, the two state grants that we have
Oh,
are,
my gosh,
it
yeah.
would be a nightmare.
You mean the building, you're speaking of the building committee?
Yes.
Yeah.
Scaling down?
Based on the money that's on hand.
I don't
Pledged.
think so.
In what way are they talking about scaling down?
Basically, the task that was given is to finish the project on time, on budget. So you look at what money do we have now
What do they mean
budgeted.
by on time? What's on time? What's the time?
That would be established, I'm assuming, by the construction manager.
Okay.
So,
Well, they haven't hired anyone yet.
no,
Right.
absolutely not. So that's just a worst-case
The
nightmare
building
scenario.
committee is aware about the requirements of the state library grant, that they
And-
can't necessarily do that without their permission.
They will be made doubly aware of all of those
Okay.
this Wednesday night.
Okay. We'll be there.
My point is just that there's some
And triply
urgency.
aware,
Yeah,
There's some urgency for us to raise this money.
Lynn, they were made aware of that at their first meeting.
Yes.
I
They've been
addressed
made
the issue.
aware
Yeah.
continually.
Yeah, well, I
for the
addressed the
last
issue
couple
to
of
the new
years, yeah.
building committee,
Yeah.
so it was
Yeah.
well addressed.
They understand, and they will have a complete understanding of the complexities
Yes.
with all of the grants
Yes.
this Wednesday.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, he's getting on there because his leaves, wasn't leaves.
At this point in juncture in the time of our life in Bethel, I will call the Selectmen's meeting to order and ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have had our call to order, we've had our pledge. Now is the time for public comment. Is there anybody here tonight that would like to speak in regard to anything? Hearing nobody that would like to speak, Selectmen's report. Anybody have anything they'd like to say or comment on tonight? If not, I would certainly like to comment in regard to our parade. It was well held. It went off very smoothly. I don't recall, even though the News Times said it was chilly and not as well attended, that reporter, I believe it was his first parade, so he had nothing to judge by, because when I crossed the railroad tracks, I think we can have people attest that they were bumper to bumper through the center of town all the way up to Bethel Food. And it was probably one of the best attended parades that I have seen in a long time.
As well as participants.
And participation in our ROTC program is just ballooned. What a fine job our schools are doing there. Lieutenant Commander Winnells and Sergeant Major Meehan, or Master Sergeant, I'm sorry, Master Sergeant Meehan. We do have 2 Stony Hill firemen that are about to be deployed to Iraq, and we've got a lad from the Bethel Fire Department that's being deployed, and we have a police officer that's now deployed. So, once again, Bethel has put troops to the field. And we have done that since the revolution, and it was brought to my attention by a very learned man that we actually had somebody that served in the French and Indian War 20 years before the revolution. So Bethel is very notable with its military service. Consideration of the resolution for the town clerk's historical grant. The The motion I would make is resolved that Robert E. Burke, First Selectman, is empowered to execute and deliver in the name and on behalf of the municipality a contract with the Connecticut State Library for the Historic Document Preservation Grant. In the second part of that motion, resolved that the town of Bethel hereby adopts as its policy to support the non-discrimination agreements and warranties required under Connecticut General Statute 4A-60A1 and 4A-6AA1 as amended in the State of Connecticut Public Act 07-425 and Sections 9A1 and 10A1 of Public Act 7-142. Do I have a second to the motion?
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Any questions?
Yeah.
Question? Comment?
Comment only. Since this is a preservation grant, I think the public should know, if I'm not misreading this thing, it's $5,000?
Yes.
Okay. There's no matching requirement?
No, none whatsoever.
Okay, good.
It's, we get it every year. It's for documentation. And
Okay.
we,
Good.
not microfilm, but whatever they call that. They spend evenings doing that. The assistant clerks kind of handle that. Any more comment? Hearing none? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 4 on our agenda, consideration of the library grant for the Connecticut Council on Tourism. My motion is resolved that the town of Bethel hereby adopts as its policy to support the non-discrimination agreements and warranties required under Connecticut General Statutes 4A-60A1, 4A-60A1, as amended in State of Connecticut Public Act 07-425 and Sections 9A1 and 10A1 of Public Act 07-142. Do I have a second?
Second.
Rocking and rolling here. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I will move this question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 5, consideration of additional funding for the Walnut Hill and Plum Trees Bridge design and engineering required by the State of Connecticut DOT DEP. I have 2 motions under agenda item on the agenda number 5. The first, to recommend to the Board of Finance funding an amount not to exceed $19,830 for additional design work associated with the Walnut Hill Road Bridge over the Limekiln Brook as outlined in the letter from Town Engineer Andrew Morowski dated May 19th, 2009. You have the letters in your possession, gentlemen?
Yes.
From Mr. Morowski. Kind of simple. It's required by the state DOT and the state DEP. In this case, it's engineering on width. Do I have a second to my motion?
Second on that.
It was?
Question, what was the original amount of money that we...
I believe it was $75,000. And
Yeah,
it's been expended already, and it's been ratified and ramified and rebuked and debuked and debunked and defunct, and here it is 6 or 7 years later, and we still need to produce another $19,830 because the DEP and the DOT and...
Is this because of changing regs?
I don't know if it's changing regs or at a state level. You'll see in the next motion I make with the Plum Trees Bridge.
It's been the 4th time we've gone there.
And you're not getting an argument from me, but we've expended $75,000, and we have just reduced the weight limit on the Walnut Hill Bridge from 22,000 pounds to 8,000 pounds, and we are closing the west side section because of the I-beam is rusted out. So pretty soon, we won't have a bridge there. It won't be passable, unless for a footbridge.
And have we got any recommendations from the state as to when they will put us on the list?
We've been on the list for 8 years.
I know, but when are they going to come around?
Kevin, you should come in here, and I see a head going, and there's a reason that head's going, because you can...
Well, they come before the Board of Finance.
You know what we need to do? Is we need to arm ourselves and attack the Capitol, I think, because I mean, they got to get this thing done. We've done, all our parts have been fulfilled. 2 engineers and 3 boards of selectmen, and how many boards of finance? And here we are again, back to the well. Apparently the bucket's got a hole in it. It's leaking. Any more discussion?
And SEA consultants, they're the same people that we've had.
They were the original people that were involved in the original designs. We have not used them for anything other than what they've already been involved in. They were involved in the culvert project, this bridge, and the other bridge. Past there, I haven't... we don't share an affinity for each other.
No,
I guess that's a good way to put it.
Yes. The track record is questionable.
We didn't bring them in. The previous administration didn't bring them in. I think the one before that brought them in. Oh. They're still here.
Yeah.
I've been looking for a wooden stake and a mallet. Can't get the box open quite yet.
All right.
Any more discussion?
No.
All those in favor of my motion for the $19,830 for the Limekiln Brook Walnut Hill Bridge signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Second motion, to recommend to the Board of Finance funding in the amount not to exceed $23,100 for additional design work associated with the Plum Trees Road Bridge at Whittlesey Drive and Walnut Hill Road, as outlined in the letter from Town Engineer Andrew Morowski, dated May 19th, 2009. Basically what's happening here, I've been to Hartford myself 2 times. The DEP and the DOT can't get together, so I put them both in the same room at the last meeting and kind of banged 2 heads together. And basically what we have here, as best I can determine, is the migration route of the caribou and the spawning of the Atlantic salmon to come into the Beaver Brook. So one culvert has to be bigger than the other so the caribou don't get confused. And one culvert has to have some rock bottom on it so the salmon can swim through and spawn so they'll feel like they're back in their native habitat. Now, I don't know of a caribou or a salmon being here for at least 400 years, so. But that's what we need to do, and that's what the holdup is there. Plus, the design is to join Whittlesey with Walnut on a straight run, and Plum Trees stays Plum Trees forever.
And this one's about 10 years or more.
Yeah.
Yeah, but since we first initiated giving them funding.
The last time this bridge was fixed, I worked on it. Nick Domain did the work.
That's about 76, right?
73, I think. I was just out of the service. Anyway.
We have no idea when they're going to commence.
I will go armed to Hartford the next time, I think.
Okay.
Anyway, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Again, thank you. Consideration of a resolution for police officer sexual predator task force. I would make a motion, resolve that Robert Burke, First Selectman, is authorized to enter into a memorandum of understanding between the Town of Bethel Police Department and the State of Connecticut Internet Crimes Against Children's Task Force to deter, prevent, investigate, and prosecute predators who seek to exploit or endanger minors in sexual activity through the use of computers, electronic media, and the Internet.
How's this being funded?
Straight paid for by the state of Connecticut. What it requires that we send an officer to be trained for a 6-month period, and then he becomes part of the task force when trained, and when they need him on special whatevers, he goes on special whatevers. It is something that I feel is definitely needed, and we could use the upgrading of one of the detectives will be sent to do it.
Now, are they paying for it just for the first training period?
They pay for all the training period, and then what will happen if we can utilize the task force in this town, and they would utilize, and we have a certain amount of time that we have to provide an officer, and I believe it's about 4 hours a month as needed. You may be used, if the object here is to get 168 officers involved so they can, it's a state situation, obviously coordinated through the state police. And with all the computer nonsense that goes on today, which is way over my head. I know Pythagoras, Archimedes, but after that, Ptolemy, I'm familiar with too. Whoever did the computers and I are not at all friendly. He lives in my house, but I don't let him in my room. Anyway, any more discussion?
No.
Hearing none, I'll move the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? That completes our agenda. Does anybody have anything to add?